We can reach back into the original drawings, technical drawings, which are readily available. And then it makes our job that much easier. That's where the precision and the quality comes into play. So we can leverage that, right? Because we are a privately owned medical device company that has been run for over 150 years. And that's how we can say that we know instruments, because we know them from the roots.
Rising above the buzz of ultrasonic cleaners and the clanking of stainless steel are the ideas and voices that are changing an industry. You're listening to the Beyond Clean podcast, the central nexus for the people, processes, and products that are improving our sterile processing world. Each week, we speak with frontline technicians, CEOs, engineers, and entrepreneurs with a common goal to help you fight dirty. Every instrument, every time. Whether you're tuning in for education or inspiration, we're glad you did. Now, turn on those washers and turn up the volume. It's time to go beyond clean.
On this vendor spotlight, we speak with Pavel Shigil, manager of ATS repairs at Aesculap, and we recently did another vendor spotlight with Aesculap. Taylor Hampshire talked to us about education, and now we're going to be following up and talking about the service of the quality instrumentation that Aesculap delivers to their customers all around the globe. And when we talk about service, we're talking about repairs on power, endoscopy, scopes, containers, general instrumentation, and minimally invasive surgical instruments. We're also going to be getting a really interesting story about Pavel and his start at a very early age in an apprenticeship program, and then moving here to the United States to launch the service program through Aesculap. I got to tell you, it's a great human interest conversation, as well as information on repairs and preventive maintenance. So stay with us. We're going to be right back after a short break with Pavel Shigil.
From 17 Studios, you're listening to Beyond Clean, the global voice of sterile processing.
Joining us now is Pavel Shigil, manager of ATS repairs at Aesculap. And Pavel, we've had a recent vendor spotlight with Taylor Hampshire, and we were talking about all the educational services that Aesculap provides to the customers and the industry, really on the greater whole. And so today, we're going to be focusing the conversation on an area that I know you have a great deal of experience with, but actually so do I, which would be repairs. And so this is a topic that's really close to my heart, and I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today.
Hello, Justin. Hello, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am super excited to be here and have the opportunity to spend time talking about medical device field and, what else that I'm doing in the service side of our operation. Maybe I'll kick it off by just telling a bit of a story here from my end and how everything began for me. So I was 15 years old when I joined in with Aesculap, worldwide largest surgical instrument manufacturer. And it was a very exciting time for me. I went through an apprentice program to become a master craftsman in manufacturing and a service of medical devices. Had the opportunity to work in Germany at our manufacturing plant. Came back to Poland. That's where I'm from originally. And I worked at one of the largest manufacturing operations in East Europe. And I had the opportunity to come here to the US early in 2002 to help with the startup for service division of our company and our operation here in the US, which was very exciting. Came in here not knowing anyone, not knowing the word of English, had to learn a lot of things and getting to know what this is all about here. And it's been a great journey ever since. We had some great things going here for us with the services that we provide to our customers on a daily basis. And service is really all the background and all the knowledge and expertise that I bring to our company and ultimately to the customers who we are working with, patients and hospitals on a regular basis.
Pavel, that's a really impressive story. I mean, just the fact that you fell in love with this industry at age 15, and then you literally moved to another country here to the United States, not even knowing the primary language for this country. You taught it to yourself, and now here you are on a podcast talking about this repair division that you essentially launched here stateside for Aesculap. I mean, that's really quite a story. How long has this been in the making? When did you come to the United States?
So I came to the United States in January of 2002. Originally, I was supposed to go to San Francisco. We had our startup service division kind of originating from within that region. And by the time I had my visa, the working visa, all taken care of and everything, it was about a year later. So I ended up coming. At that time, we would have moved to Midwest, strategically to be positioned here in the Midwest. So I ended up coming actually instead of San Francisco, going to San Francisco, which I always kind of dreamed of and watch movies and stuff like that. So I was super excited to be able to see it. Came here to the Midwest early in 2002 and helped with the startup of our service division here out of St. Louis. And it was a great experience without a doubt. At that time, a lot of people who worked at the service department here in St. Louis were Germans. So a lot of kind of origin coming back from that manufacturing background, from folks who have worked at the manufacturing plant in Tuttlingen. That's where the whole Aesculap story began over 150 years ago. For me personally, I did have a chance to spend a couple of years at the Aesculap manufacturing plant in Germany while I was doing my apprentice program back in 1997, 1998, which was also very exciting, and it was quite an experience. So I had a chance to take all that in and then worked a little bit at the manufacturing facility in Poland, as I mentioned earlier, and came in here to the US to help with the startup for the service division. So very exciting times for sure.
Yeah, Aesculap is totally known for innovation and also medical advancements with surgical instruments that are manufactured. And I know one of the things is like this focus on precision and reliability. I hear that constantly. We've had, folks from the Aesculap team on our Beyond Clean educational podcast. Obviously, I mentioned Taylor came on a vendor spotlight. We've done a number of conferences, and that always seems to be like just such a strong, kind of consistent message. And so then you had to take that and bring it into this whole service model. And, I got to think that St. Louis is much better for you in terms of cost of living. But also the Midwest, I'd say has a lot of, especially in that St. Louis market, some really great healthcare organizations. It's a really nice area. As you began to build out that service division, where did you find people to work on the service side? Were they locals? Did you have to bring other people in from overseas to build out your team? How did that all come together?
First of all, I'm going to take a step back for a second, because I think you said it very well. St. Louis is unique like that, right? Here in the Midwest, it's a pretty good sized city here, and we are fortunate and blessed to have all those different hospitals and hospital systems in this region. The world of the BGCs, the Mercies, and several other hospital systems of a high caliber in, very quality driven facilities. So I was, fortunate to be able to work with those customers and be exposed to this side of our business. But to answer your question more specifically, always a little bit of a challenge, but we have been, fortunate and successful in bringing folks on board with us, bring them into our facility, to our repair facility in St. Louis from different places, really. We had some success here in the U.S. with folks who have had previous experience and background working in medical device industry, working in hospitals, working in SPD departments. But we had also had a great success bringing folks from overseas, such as myself, 20 plus years ago, people who have that, knowledge and that expertise and background in manufacturing and service of medical devices. So as I mentioned earlier, the beginnings were very, very memorable, because I remember at the time we would have had maybe like 10 Germans here on the shop floors. My boss at the time was German, and we had a good friend and longtime colleague of mine. He's from England, We ended up coming here to the US again to help with the startup around the same time. So it was interesting to see how everything evolved, and definitely a good start with having great knowledge and expertise amongst a group of people I had the privilege to work with to help with the startup. So always a little bit of a challenge, but I think we did a great job managing that part very well, and really had a mix of all folks from across the globe, including the expertise here in the US.
Yeah, that's amazing. And everybody knows about, German stainless and German manufacturing. And so, I think quality in terms of manufacturing is associated with Germany. And it's just interesting how there's still this global perspective in launching this service aspect or business unit, I guess you could kind of say, for Aesculap. And I'm just wondering, what was going on in the industry that really led Aesculap to say, okay, Pavel and others on the team, let's pilot this, or let's launch this. Let's do this startup in the United States. What was going on for Aesculap customers that you just knew you had to step in and add this service element to your offerings?
So no, that's a very good question. And I have to tell you, just kind of thinking back a little bit, going back to 20 plus years ago, ever since I had a chance to come here and be a part of this adventure, I want to say that when I think of Aesculap, again, we're talking about a prestigious company that's worldwide recognized. And coming here to the US, I felt like we were a long time due for being present here, for bringing all the expertise and knowledge that we have to offer for company of that caliber, such as the company I'm with, Aesculap. So it was, obviously US market is big. It's very big. There's a lot of hospital systems to begin with. Obviously it's a large country. So, as far as the landscape is concerned, unlimited opportunities. So I thought again that for us, this was a great opportunity to come in and do a showcase, show who we are and why we do what we do. Because again, we have a lot to offer, being, coming from the roots of the German manufacturing that reaches back over 150 years, and all this expertise. It just all nicely came together like that. And I thought that again, our customers were able to see it, the stories that we have, the quality of the product we're able to deliver. You talked about the advancement in the technology, being a privately owned company. A lot of what we do and goes back into the profits, and the profits that we have go right back into our research and development. So we can become better at what we do. We can, continue to advance in the technology and being able to provide better product, better services to our customers.
Pavel, it's really interesting. I heard this whole theme of focusing on quality, and instruments are really only new once. The quality is really only controlled off the manufacturing line. And then the management of quality really does sort of fall on the hospital once they receive those instruments and put them into use. And they need a partner, right, to help maintain that, because they're not able to fix them. They're not able to repair them. And I think, there's an educational component that during the procedure, make sure you're using the right instruments so that you get the life out of the instruments that's intended. But you also want to manage that quality experience for the customer. And I'm assuming that that's one of the other reasons why you launched this division, was to just say, Aesculap is a brand that's associated with quality. And so if we can help those customers maintain the quality throughout the lifetime of these instruments, it's just going to enhance their perception of what we do every day. But the key word here is preventive maintenance, right? You have to do it before there's a poor quality experience in the operating room. You've got to do it ahead of time. Can you talk to me about the just importance of preventive maintenance from your perspective?
Absolutely. This is amazing. And again, you're spot on. For somebody such as myself, seeing it, being involved in this for 20 plus years, it's just amazing. There's definitely a lot of value in doing that, and being able to recognize that there is a need to take care of your assets. And the hospitals, when you think of it, obviously hospitals spend millions of dollars every year to purchase, new equipment, to buy medical devices, to buy surgical instruments. And being able to know how to properly maintain and take care of those instruments and the instrumentation, it's beyond, critical. It's very, very important. I don't want to say that this is the sad part, but for lack of a better way to describe it, unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of people don't realize that they somehow miss that very part. And we get to see it, right? We get to see it on the service side of things. I couldn't tell you how many times I saw that. We see that, pretty much on a regular basis. The instruments are coming in. It breaks our hearts, right? Because when you love this stuff, when you have passion for it, and you know what those instruments are for, what they're, were designed to do, and you see somebody basically, not caring for the instrumentation, and it kind of breaks your heart a little bit. But that's where we come in, right? That's where we come in. And it's not just about providing quality service, which is obviously super important to us, and that goes without say, but it's also about the educational part, right? So what we do too, oftentimes, every opportunity I get, and I had numerous of opportunities over the last 2 decades to go and talk to our customers, to travel, solve our customer problems whenever, there's a need, whenever there's an issue. And I've seen it firsthand, and I had the opportunities to talk to our customers, even surgeons in some cases, and educate them to tell them, listen, this is why this is happening. And then there's a way to prevent that. And preventive maintenance is very important. If you take the time on the front end and invest the time and a little bit of the energy that goes into making sure that your instrumentation is taken care of and timely and with the quality, then you will prolong the life of those instruments, and ultimately it will lead to a better results for everybody involved. So, and again, we could talk about that part, for a very long time, but I wish that more people understood that very part and understood the importance of taking care of instruments and medical devices on a regular basis. But we preach that all the time. I always get excited about it. I love to talk to our customers, love to talk to surgeons about, the importance of it, without a doubt.
We focused on sort of stainless steel when we gave some examples of preventive maintenance. And I realized this program has grown substantially. You have a presence in over 50 different countries across the globe and continue to grow. But when we talk about preventive maintenance and the servicing of equipment, we're not just talking about stainless steel instruments, right? We're talking about all different types of surgical equipment. What does that include?
Absolutely, right? So again, you're spot on. It's a broad portfolio, right? And just before I go any further with that piece, when we just think about Aesculap, thinking about us and what we have to offer, you got to remember we're talking about upwards of 10,000s of instruments, different kind of instruments that we have to offer, that we have in our portfolio,
and growing,
and growing, of course.
Constant innovation.
Absolutely. Anything from the basic handheld instruments used for general type surgery, like the towel clamp, scissors, retractors, all the way through endoscopy, all the way through laparoscopic instruments, power systems, sterile containers, of course. How can you miss that, right? I mean, this is obviously very important. We are pioneers in that space. We're the market leaders when it comes to sterile containers, and no difference there, right? The sterile containers, the preventive maintenance piece when it comes to the containers, it's perhaps the most important, right? Because the instruments need to be sterilized. And, how does this happen? And instrumentation goes into sterile containers, and then you obviously then take care of the washing and cleaning and sterilization at the end, which is obviously very important and cannot be missed. So on that note, a lot of times when we see sterile containers coming in and we see the damage that unfortunately can be done to those devices, again, it kind of breaks our hearts. But at the same time, we know there were the experts to help fix those problems and to help our customers, to educate them on that. But yeah, it's across the spectrum. Preventive maintenance really is applicable to everything and anything that we do, and has to do with all the medical devices and surgical instruments that are out there.
Yeah, that container piece, for sterility assurance is really critical, but also sometimes overlooked. And I'm glad you emphasized that, because I've seen that before, and you can do a really great job and do everything that you're supposed to be doing. And of course, we have, the checks and balances in to make sure that the steam sterilization process went correct. But when those gaskets start to break down, when there's dents and the lid doesn't really match up with the base or the basket, that can really be, a lot of rework for the sterile processing technicians, and nobody's got time to redo any of their work these days. It's, just a completely different environment out there. So I would emphasize that if there's no preventive maintenance inspection and program for maintaining the containers, that's something you've got to jump on literally as you're listening to this podcast. Let's start talking about the advantages of being the manufacturer of these equipments and how that supports this service division. Like, what does that afford you, Pavel, and your company, Aesculap, when it comes to servicing instrumentation? What are the benefits of being a manufacturer?
Well, Justin, this is extremely important, right? So I don't even know where to begin, but I would just say this: having the roots in the manufacturing, being able to go back and check on the original specifications on how the instrumentation was made. Why was it made this way or that way? What materials were used to manufacture those instruments? And having that knowledge, having that expertise and access to this kind of information is just, it's priceless. And that's where we come in. That's where Aesculap comes in, because we can access this information. And so when we do perform repairs, if questions come up and we have to have a little bit more information about the type of materials or the specifications, the dimensions, we can reach back into the original drawings, technical drawings, which are readily available. And then it makes our job that much easier. That's where the precision and the quality comes into play. So we can leverage that, right? Because we are a privately owned medical device company that has been run for over 150 years. And that's how we can say that we know instruments, because we know them from the roots. I personally have been, I'm privileged and, to be able to know all of that, right? Then the entire process, because I have worked at the manufacturing plants and I've seen it, how the instruments are made. I was part of the making for a lot of those instruments, whether it was in Poland or in Germany. It's very exciting. So it helps tremendously. That's where the leverage comes into play. The importance of it, I cannot say enough about it. It is critical.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of already, I can't believe how quickly this is going. We're getting towards the end, but you mentioned something at the beginning about how you got your start, and you mentioned the apprenticeship, and we didn't really sit on that and talk about the apprenticeship, but I know that is also a big advantage as a manufacturer, is that apprenticeship program that you all have in place. And I want to start there, but we're also going to talk about your partnership with Rankin Technical College before we wrap up. So can we just start with that apprenticeship program? What was it like when you went through it? And I believe you're now a certified master craftsman. So like, what does that look like? And again, when we talk about quality, I got to believe that a really robust apprenticeship program has a lot to do with sustaining that.
So Justin, you can see how I cannot stop smiling. I just love talking about that, right? And I'm glad you brought this up again, because honestly, as we went through this, I'm like, did I say enough about, my background and, what I saw, what I went through? And, it's amazing. I got to tell you, it's very amazing. So I'll go back a step and I'll revisit that topic really quick. So for me personally, my apprentice program took about 6 years. I started out at the age of 15, and my first 3 years, I was partially working at the plant, and at that time this was in Poland at Aesculap, one of the largest manufacturing plants, and then I was also then going through school. But why is this so unique? Because this wasn't just any kind of a school. That school, at least in that region of our country, was basically, think of it like a kind of a custom built program for somebody who wants to be involved with manufacturing and the service of medical devices. And that is what I have experienced. That is what I did. There's some funny stories actually to go along with it. And I've been telling these stories for years now that, I still remember the first week of my apprentice program where I was brought into the shop, and I was basically given a piece of stainless steel block, basically, I don't know, maybe 5" by 7". And I was given drawings of, at the time, I think it was a knife that I was supposed to make, but it was, the experience was amazing because you were given the block of material, and literally all I was doing all week long for the first time, I was just filing. I was learning the basics. It took a very long time for me to really kind of get a good grasp of, what the making and manufacturing of medical devices is all about. But you had to, throughout this entire program, you had to learn not only the techniques, but also, like I said, the schooling, the program was unique in its own right, because you learn about metallurgy and how the metals are made, why they make or don't make at time, and what makes them unique, what makes stainless steel, and which a lot of people, I think, miss that part. You either have this experience and you've had this exposure and you were taught all there is to know about it, or you haven't. And so I said, I'm super excited about that part. Now, how does this now translate to what we're doing here in the US? The 2 decades later, with my involvement, I came up with this idea to basically, bring a similar program, like a apprentice program, maybe perhaps a mini version of the kind of program I went through here to the US, to our division in St. Louis. And we partner up with the Rankin Technical College, which is very well recognized in this area, in this region. And it took us several weeks, several meetings, but we sat down, we talked about what is it we are wanting to do. And I brought all of that experience and expertise and knowledge in building this custom program for our technicians. So we ended up, going live with that, with our technicians. And it was a great event. Everybody was super excited about it. This was, I believe, 2 months training. And again, it included not only the technical piece, but also the sit down in class, learning about, why this is important, and learning about the different types of material, learning about instrumentation from the roots. And then it was super exciting. So, that's how we joined the venture with the technical college, Rankin, and we're looking forward to do more of that. In fact, we finished another program this last year on electronics as well. So we're super excited about those opportunities, without a doubt.
What I love about the apprenticeship program and the way that you're describing it, and also your own personal experience, really like literally getting a chunk of metal and trying to make it into a knife with no experience, right? And then that practice just giving you an appreciation. But at the same time, you were getting this foundational knowledge about metals like 100, 200, 300, 400, all of that. And then you're now talking about medical devices are more complex than just stainless steel. There's various materials that go into the manufacturing, especially of the more complex devices, and even electronics, like you just described. And so I love that. And I think there's a big uptick when people look at the ROI of schooling and skilled labor. It's the trade labor that now has really taken off, because we have, lots of people in the workforce that have maybe a more traditional college education, but the skilled labor is really at a premium now. And so having that kind of a trade school and that technical college program to be able to bring that skilled labor, but merge it with that foundational knowledge so that there's a real understanding about the why you do things a certain way, or why metal or other materials behave the way that they do. I just think that's fantastic. I do want to let everybody know that if they want to learn more about anything that we talked about today, but I know, primarily we're talking about service, you can call the Aesculap corporate office at 1-800-258-1946. There's a customer service team as well, 1-800-282-9000. Visit the website, aesculapusa.com. That's AESCULAPUSA.com. And then, of course, follow them on all the various social media platforms by simply searching, for Aesculap. Pavel, this interview, absolutely fantastic. I love your personal story and how it's really woven into excellence. And I just can't even tell you how cool I think it is for you to have this interest at such a young age of 15 and then have an opportunity to literally launch service in a whole other country and it's really become your whole life. And I just can see and hear the passion that you have for this, because you've made it your life's work, and congratulations for all the success in that regard. You have a lot of pride, and you should.
I appreciate it, Justin. I love talking about it, and yeah, I hope it shows. And I cannot help it. That is, like you said, this has been my life, and in 28 plus years for me now, and it's just unique like that. And just having the feeling that you're able to make a change, be part of medical device industry, healthcare systems. It's just unique like that. That's what gets me going. That's what makes me want to get up every morning, come in, having the team that we have here to help support that, the level of expertise that we're able to deliver, seeing the results from it while we're talking to our customers, and the feedback we get after we're able to solve their problems and provide solution. It's just like nothing. It's second to none. That is what excites me the most.
That was Pavel Shigil, manager of ATS repairs at Aesculap. And I got to tell you, this was one of the more fun interviews for me to do. And as I mentioned, as we kicked off the conversation with Pavel, I have experience in the repair industry, but it's really the personal stories. And I think Pavel's is really inspirational. I mean, somebody who came from another country, didn't know English, and now here we are having a very detailed and thorough conversation here on the Beyond Clean podcast. And I love how it started, that whole apprenticeship program. How important is that when you're talking about service and having the why, and that partnership with the Rankin Technical College on a customized training program for technicians to really supplement the apprenticeship that they might get just from being an employee of Aesculap, I think is really stand out. I do want to remind everybody that when we spent a good amount of time talking about stainless steel instruments in this conversation, but it really is all types of surgical equipment when you talk about the comprehensive repair services that Aesculap offers. So just to revisit that, power, endoscopy and scopes, containers, then that general instrumentation, but also minimally invasive surgical instruments. So really quite a breadth of service capabilities there. And you can contact the Aesculap corporate office if you'd like to get more information, 1-800-258-1946, and the customer service team, 800-282-9000, or you can visit AesculapUSA.com. Again, that's AESCULAPUSA.com, and obviously follow them on all the various social media platforms by searching for Aesculap, such as on LinkedIn, where we have this thriving sterile processing community, and others. That's going to do it for this week's Vendor Spotlight. As a reminder, you can help support Beyond Clean by subscribing on Apple, Amazon, or Google Podcasts. We're also available on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or just search for Beyond Clean on your favorite podcast application. Some of these episodes, we've got bonus content for you, but you're not going to be able to get it unless you download our smartphone app for either iPhone or Android. And while you're there in the marketplace or the App Store, we'd certainly appreciate a rating and a review, because your feedback is important to us. And if you have any topics that you might like us to cover on a future episode, or a guest that you'd recommend for the show, just send an email to info@beyondclean.net. Thank you for listening to this Vendor Spotlight on Beyond Clean.